For me, a little over 4 years ago, I joined the YWCA of Nashville and Middle Tennessee and started working on a program called the Men Together that's engaging men to end violence against women and girls. We're trying to change the culture that supports that violence, trying to talk about healthy manhood and masculinity and what it means to value and respect women and girls in a world that goes against the grain. This happened after a long basketball career that took me all over this entire world. And unbeknownst to me, it was the training ground for the work that I do now, because everywhere I went, whether it was California, Washington, D.C., Italy, Belgium, Turkey, everywhere I went, I saw violence against women and girls. I saw domestic violence, I saw sexual harassment, I saw sexual assault, I saw women being raped, I saw sex trafficking, I saw women getting murdered. And then I come back to Nashville and learn that we're fifth in the nation for men killing women. I get back to the place that helped me to become a man, and I learned that our Metro Police respond to a domestic violence call every 20 minutes. I come back to the city that embraced me as a kid, and I learned that 1 out of every 4 women experience domestic violence. And I had to go against the grain in order to help change that, to talk to men and boys about how we've defined manhood and are those things helpful or harmful, not only to ourselves, but the people who we love and care about the most. We're going against the grain. When I talk to young kids in schools and everybody has a cell phone and how much they're watching pornography and allowing that to determine how they think about relationships and how they think about interactions with women and girls. We have to go against the grain. When I talk to men about their experiences and what they saw growing up in households that are violent, and they've been told their entire life that what happens in our house stays in our house, that we're sweeping these things under the rug. We don't talk about it. In order to change that, we have to go against the grain. I talk to CEOs and pastors of churches, and it's amazing how often it's easy for us to say that this doesn't happen around me. It doesn't happen in my neighborhood. This is not going on in my family. I don't see this on a regular basis. But the reality is the statistics are true. Every single one of us in here today is connected to a woman or girl who is a victim of this kind of violence, whether you know it or not. Our goal is to make Nashville the safest city in the world for women and girls. And in order to make that happen, I've committed my life, and I hope that everybody in here will also join us in going against the grain to make that happen.
Thanks, Shane. Doctor, you're taking an unpopular step to move forward?
Don't you want to skip over to...
I'm glad I'm asking the questions.
There is a way for me that as a 63-year-old black woman who's a professional, just getting up in the morning is going against the grain. And I say that with a little bit of humor, but a lot of seriousness. The ways in which U.S. culture views most black women requires that we live our lives in perpetual protest to that view. And so in doing that protest, I'm going against the grain. I'm refusing to accept the stereotypes and images that pertain to me, because I know there are so many other stereotypes and images that are being cast out about black folk, women in general, other people of color, that simply are not true. And so for me, going against the grain really means simply to live my life with as much integrity and protest, and if it's called for, just being downright ornery.
I'm glad you are. Thank you. Stephanie, that's a tough one to follow. So
That's
good luck.
really tough to follow. I guess I think back, oh man, probably 6 or 7 years ago. I had moved back to Indiana after being gone for a while. I was coaching with the Indiana Fever, and my mentor, Lynn Dunn, and for Stephanie White, who grew up in small town Indiana, who has always done and said everything the right way, done what everybody expected all the time. I was challenged by Lynn and by my mentor to use the platform that I have in a more substantial way than just doing what you're expected to do. And she really helped me realize that our position, our voice in a leadership position, the impact that we are making every day on the folks around us, and the things that we say, and more so our actions, are so important. And so I became a little bit of a pot stirrer. And I mean that in the form of speaking up for social justice and social injustice. I mean that in terms of speaking up when we're talking about things like gun control and violence. Speaking up when it comes to LGBTQ issues, things that I normally wouldn't touch for fear of losing quote unquote respect from those who had been a part of my life for so long or expected certain things from me. And I realized that that's how you make the greater impact, by living authentically, by having difficult conversations, by challenging the status quo, and by empowering the youth around us to be stronger than we were, to face things head on, and to share experiences that when I was growing up were just kept quiet, because that's the way it was. And so it was against the grain from what I was used to. It was against the grain from what folks were used to seeing from me, but liberating in a sense that I was finally making a substantial difference in the communities that I was a part of.
Well, thank you for stirring that pot. Eddie?
Oh, man. Wow, some really powerful testimonies here. I guess for me, going against the grain, I wouldn't say, I don't seek to go against the grain. I just seek to live in my truth. And that's going against the grain, then so be it. When I retired in 2004, I guess I was expected to jump into coaching or commentating, something along staying in my lane in terms of being a football player. And I did that, but it wasn't, it really didn't call me. It was about 5 years ago that I made a shift in my life and my career through my 3 E's that I say: education, entrepreneurship, and entertainment. And each one, it has a significance in my life. So under entertainment, the arts was really a lifeline for me to find a new career, my second act, so to speak, through acting and doing stories based on the African-American community, the African-American experience, to bring a light and to express myself in that regard was healing for me, and hopefully was healing for others. And I continue to do that around the world. I mean, going against the grain is being a former NFL football player and singing on Broadway. What the hell is that? Like, that's crazy to me. I mean, but we continue to do it. But more importantly, I think my life's work has been being an educator now. I teach at Ohio State, and I've been teaching the last 5 years the business of professional sports, leveraging your brand for greater success. And just to hear about the statistics of athletes going broke and after they're done not having I guess a second career, you know, so forth, or finding a life passion, instead of, you know, sitting behind a desk and talking about these issues, I wanted to do something about it. So I partnered with the Fisher School of Business to create the Business of Professional Sports, to engage students, to show them the lifestyle, the life cycle of the business before, during, and thereafter. And to how do you leverage that after the game? What are your life passions? What are you born to do? What is your life's work? So you begin to think about those things as you're going through your professional life as as an athlete, because the NFL stands for not for long, and you have to begin to think about, how can I be a true difference maker in my community and helping others, being of service to others, and along the way, and using your resources. So I guess, in a sense, my 3 E's is not like anybody else's in the world, because I come from a different background. I have a different set of experiences, and it's different from everybody else. Everybody else has a different brand. So that's kind of what I've been led to do, and continue to do that.
I'm so glad you didn't stay in your lane. There's nothing more insulting than when someone says, stay in your lane. It's so limiting.